Hello and welcome back to Flipped Psychology. I'm Miss Lee and we are still discussing social psychology. This is section 2, Stereotyping, Prejudice, and Discrimination. Our objectives for this video are to examine the nature and effects of stereotyping, prejudice, and discrimination, to explain how social power structures relate to stereotypes, prejudice, and discrimination, and to examine how perspectives influence stereotypes and the treatment of minority and majority groups in society. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and grab your notes and let's get started. So let's start out with some definitions of stereotype, prejudice, and discrimination. Our definition of stereotype is an overgeneralized belief about a particular category of people. It is an expectation that people might have about every person of a particular group. The definition of prejudice is that it's often used to refer to a preconceived, usually unfavorable evaluation of another person based on that person's perceived group membership or other personal characteristics. So whether they're a part of that group or not, if they're perceived to be part of that group, then they could be evaluated usually unfavorably as being part of that group. The causes of prejudice are varied. Here are some of the main causes of prejudice. Exaggerating differences between yourself and others, assuming others are inferior to you because they're not as well off as you are. We sometimes become prejudiced because we have seen other people be prejudiced and be reinforced for that belief. Victims asserting superiority over those who are even less well off can lead to prejudice, and scapegoating. This is when people of a certain social group are blamed for some type of injustice or wrongdoing. How do we overcome prejudice? Well, the most important thing we can do is to increase contact among members of different groups. The more people are together, especially if they are working together towards a common goal, the better the outcome. Speaking up when other people act or talk in ways that reflect prejudicial attitudes. So basically being an upstander instead of a bystander. We'll be talking more about the bystander effect in our next video. Making a conscious effort to treat others with courtesy and treating others fairly, regardless of the groups to which they belong. So the definition of discrimination is the unjust or prejudicial treatment of different categories of people or things, especially on the grounds of race, age, or sex. So going a little further into the difference between prejudice and discrimination, keep in mind that a prejudiced person may not act on their attitude. Therefore, someone can be prejudiced towards a certain group but not discriminate against them. Also, prejudice includes all three components of an attitude: affective, behavioral, and cognitive. We talked about these factors as part of Albert Ellis's theory in our last video, whereas discrimination just involves behavior. There is an influence of power structure. So first off, social power is the potential for social influence. It doesn't necessarily mean that that happens, but the power is there, the potential is there, and the available tools one must exert influence over another can lead to a change in that person. So as a result, the influencing agents have social power, which are the means that they can use to influence someone. Keep in mind that power in American society has historically been organized along the lines of gender, race, class, sexuality, ability, age, national, and religious identities. So there would be an influence between the groups of people, even if it is just a perceived difference. However, perspective taking has been found to effectively decrease stereotyping and in-group favoritism. This can only happen by creating an overlap between the representation that we have cognitively of ourselves and other people. So let's review. We discussed the nature and the effects of stereotyping, prejudice, and discrimination. We talked about how social power structures can relate to stereotypes, prejudice, and discrimination. And we talked about how perspectives influence stereotypes and the treatment of minority and majority groups in society. In our next video, we'll be talking about aggression and conflicts. I can't wait to see you then. Bye for now.